Asim had never known a spell of hearkening to last this long. It was his 10th morning venturing to the spellwork chamber at dawn to collect a sheet of parchment slipped under the door. So far they had been unmarked, which meant his sorcerin brethren still had not determined the magic inside the princess. Every day after learning there was no news, he would climb to the top of the temple and send up a plume of blue smoke, conveying the message to the city. Hearkenings, the spells cast by sorcerin to name the magic inside newborn human children, weren't usually cause for such ceremony. But in Mythic, nothing was so closely followed as the birth and subsequent naming of a princess. Asim walked the dim halls of the temple. Robed sorcerin nodded grimly as he passed. They knew his task. He wondered if inside they were half holding their breath, as he was. Today he would likely find the parchment slashed with black ink for death. A hearkening spell that lasted longer than 5 days was dangerous, but once the spell had begun, it could not be broken. After 10 days, the chances of survival were exceedingly slim. He rounded the last corner and stopped cold. The bronze doors of the spellwork chamber were thrown open, and 5 sorcerins stood in the hallway. One held a small, wild-haired thing, howling and swaddled in bright poppy cloth. The princess. They murmured the name of her magic in reverent voices, barely noticing his presence. He was, after all, just an apprentice. Asim spun on his heel and headed to the aviary. He should have gone straight to the temple's roof and lit the signal fire, but there was another task he must see to first. Head bowed, Asim moved through the halls quickly, lest anyone notice the delay. He crested the temple's central staircase, but stopped before he reached the top. Instead, he took a sharp left and emerged in the musty room where the messenger ravens were housed. Already, Asim could hear the bells of the ivory tower ringing to announce the end of the spell, meaning the apprentice sent to bring word to the queen's palace had already arrived. Asim was already minutes behind. Mythi's capital, Ternine, would soon descend into celebration. It was as everyone had hoped. A girl child, a rival heir born to fight for her seat upon the throne. For queens ruled in Mythic and killed for the right to do so. Weeks ago, the auguries had predicted a blood moon, an omen of great change, would rise tonight. At sundown, people would fill the streets, fae, bloodkin, and human alike, chanting as the sorcerin had. Asim hastily affixed a message to a raven's leg and reached below his collar, fingering the tattoo inked upon his shoulder. He whispered a location into the bird's ear. Once he felt the magic take hold, he sent the raven gliding out of a nearby window. The raven flew north. Day turned to night as it followed the Red River up through the mountains beyond Mythic, until finally it came to a valley ringed with sheer cliffs, like a mouthful of broken teeth. The creature alighted on a black tent in the small camp assembled at the foot of the highest peak. Drawn by the familiar scrape of talons against canvas, a horned woman with silver hair and a smooth, unlined face emerged. Shielding her face against snowfall, she scanned the white-capped peaks that encircled the valley, the snow glistening beneath a bleeding moon, and removed the small, hollow bone strapped to the raven's leg. It was about the size of a finger joint and sealed with blue wax. She tucked the message into the folds of her cotton skirt and returned to her tent. The woman lit a candle and carried it to her bedroll before easing the strip of parchment from its tight roll. There were just 3 words: marrow and blood. She read the message 3 times, the words sinking into her skin like frost, and then held the paper to the flame. As it crumbled to ash, she began to plan the fall of a queendom.